When people mention the thin blue line, they immediately think of its sharp satire on police station life. But what audiences never expected was that part of the talented cast would face such cruel fates in real life. Some passed away far too soon from illness, while others faded into loneliness. Can you guess who they were? Let's uncover their names together and pay tribute to the legacies they left behind. Trevor Peacock as Turner. Trevor Peacock was 64 years old when he played Turner, a petty thief with a humorous edge, adding richness to the eccentric world of characters in The Thin Blue Line in 1995. Though the role was not a long one, it marked the appearance of a seasoned actor already beloved by British audiences through decades of artistic dedication. Yet Trevor Peacock's life turned down a tragic path: Alzheimer's disease. As he entered old age, he gradually lost his memory, no longer recognizing his fans, and even forgetting the very roles that made him famous. His family once recalled how confused he looked when someone came up to shake his hand and called him Jim Trot, the well-known character from The Vicar of Dibley, without having any idea why. For an artist who lived through memory and characters, being robbed of those memories was the most painful destruction of all. From an actor who once made a nation laugh, Peacock spent his final years in silence as his mind and memories slowly slipped away. On March 8, 2021, Trevor Peacock passed away at the age of 89 due to complications from dementia. His net worth was estimated at around $3 million, the result of over half a century of contributions to theater, television, and music. But the most priceless treasure he left behind was the immortal image of Jim Trot, with the repeated line, "No, no, 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 yes," a detail both hilarious and deeply moving. Geoffrey Chater as Chief Commissioner. At the age of 74, Geoffrey Chater took on the role of Chief Commissioner in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995. A powerful figure, stern in manner, and completely opposed to the bumbling humor of Inspector Fowler. By then, Chater was already a veteran actor, familiar to British audiences for decades, but this role stood as proof of his ability to maintain brilliance even in the later years of his career. Born on March 23, 1921, in Barnet, Hertfordshire, Geoffrey Chater grew up in an artistic family. His father was a musician, and his mother a stage actress. One might think that childhood would pave the way for a bright future, but reality proved harsh. When World War II broke out, he was forced to put aside his stage dreams to enlist, becoming an officer in the Royal Fusiliers. The years he spent fighting in India and Burma left him with countless painful memories: death, loss, and the long nights when he wrote scripts and staged small sketches to ease his comrades' haunting war fears. Returning home, Chater carried invisible wounds, loneliness, solemnity, and the silent sacrifice of a whole generation. Though beloved by audiences, he was never a box office or screen star. He often accepted small roles and avoided long-term contracts because deep inside, he feared being trapped in the whirlpool of fame. This was an artist who chose a path few could understand, rejecting glory to preserve freedom, but in return, he lived most of his career quietly, feeling he always stood at the edge of the great stage. And that choice, though noble, also led Chater into a life marked by sacrifice, sacrificing the fame many colleagues craved in order to keep a measure of peace for his soul. On October 16, 2021, Geoffrey Chater passed away in Iden, East Sussex, at the age of 100. His net worth was estimated at around $2 million, a modest sum compared to many of his peers, but a testament to a lifetime of unrelenting artistic dedication. The final image of him that his loved ones remembered was of an elderly man still standing to recite poetry and read the Bible at the local church, even up to his 99th birthday. Gabrielle Blunt as Elderly Lady. At 76 years old, Gabrielle Blunt appeared as the elderly lady in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995, a small role, but one that left an impression with its simple charm, evoking the familiar image of elderly English women so often seen in everyday life. With a career spanning 6 decades, this appearance was not just a fleeting part, but a testament to the endurance of a seasoned actress who remained dedicated to the screen even in her twilight years. Born on January 8, 1919, in Blean, Kent, Gabrielle Blunt was the only child of a family with aristocratic roots. Fate seemed to draw her to the stage, but the path was anything but easy. She endured 2 failed marriages, once again underlining the familiar tragedies of women who struggled to make a living while raising children in the post-war years. Raising 3 children amid the hardships of society often left her exhausted, both mentally and physically. The years of being a single mother, while at the same time enduring the demanding world of theater, carved a silent loneliness within Gabrielle, a darker side she rarely let the public see. And toward the end of her life, she faced yet another tragedy of age: physical decline, feelings of isolation, and a gradual retreat from the stage lights, the very place that had been her lifeblood for over half a century. On June 10, 2014, Gabrielle Blunt passed away at Denville Hall, the London retirement home for artists, at the age of 95. Her net worth was around $1.5 million, a modest sum, but one that perfectly reflected her perseverance and lifelong dedication to her art. Frederick Treves as Lord Lieutenant. Frederick Treves was 70 years old when he played the Lord Lieutenant in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995, a character with an imposing presence, representing the powerful upper class of British society. With his calm demeanor and extensive acting experience, Treves breathed life into the role, creating an interesting contrast with the silly, humorous atmosphere that was the soul of the show. Born on March 29, 1925 in Cliftonville, Margate, Kent, Frederick Treves grew up in a distinguished medical family, but his life's path took turns steeped in tragedy. At the age of 17, as a naval cadet during World War II, the ship Wimarama on which he served was bombed and exploded, killing 83 crew members. Treves miraculously survived, even rescuing many of his comrades, and was awarded the Order of the British Empire for his bravery. Yet the memories of fire, smoke, and a sinking ship haunted him for the rest of his life, leaving the young man with loneliness and the heavy feeling that he was living in place of others. Personal tragedy continued to shadow him in later life when his wife passed away before him, leaving a painful void. In his final years, the artist who had given so much on stage and screen had to face solitude, illness, and the quiet fading away from the spotlight. On January 30, 2012, Frederick Treves passed away at the age of 86. His net worth was estimated at around $2.5 million, a modest figure compared to the magnitude of his career, but one that reflected a life wholly devoted to art. The enduring image of him remains that of a man who once risked his life amid fire at sea to save his comrades, and who, for the rest of his life, continued to stand on stage, bringing his characters to life with all the strength he had left. Terrence Bayler as Professor Vane. At the age of 65, Terrence Bayler appeared as Professor Vane in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995, a scholarly character with a contemplative air, adding a unique shade to the show's collection of eccentric personalities. By that stage, Bayler was already a familiar face to international audiences, having appeared in classics such as Life of Brian, 1979, Time Bandits, 1981, and later Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Born on January 24, 1930 in Wanganui, New Zealand, Bayler grew up in a working-class family. His father drove trucks by day and worked backstage in the theater by night. Coming from such modest roots, Bayler once admitted his first film salary was £6 a week, plus food and cigarettes. But behind the curtain of laughter and the glamour of acting was a personal life full of turbulence. Bayler endured a failed marriage to actress Bridget Armstrong, leaving him with the burden of raising children in a world of instability. His life was tied to art, but in exchange came solitude, inner battles, and the unspoken pressures of an artist struggling to keep his career alight while confronting darkness within his own family. Toward the end of his life, tragedy deepened when he faced cancer, a silent enemy that ate away at both his body and spirit, turning his final days into a painful ordeal. On August 2nd, 2016, Terrence Bayler passed away in England at the age of 86. His net worth was estimated at around $1 million, most of it from his work in film and theater. Yet his greatest legacy remains the haunting image he created in Life of Brian, the charm he brought to the Thin Blue Line, and the fleeting but immortal moment he shared as part of the Harry Potter universe. Stephen Moore as Ron. When Stephen Moore was 58, he played Ron in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995. A brief role, but one that still made an impression thanks to his distinctive voice, a trademark that defined his decades-long career. To audiences, Moore was not only a familiar face on British television, but also the immortal voice of Marvin the paranoid android in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Born on December 11, 1937 in Brixton, London, Moore grew up in an intellectually rooted family. His father was a lawyer and his mother a teacher. Yet behind a brilliant career that stretched from London's West End to television lay a private life full of fractures. He married 4 times, but all that remained were bitter divorces and prolonged family conflicts. His children, several of whom followed him into acting, witnessed their father's struggle through the wreckage of broken relationships. In his later years, tragedy compounded as his health declined. Years of smoking and exhausting work may have contributed to respiratory problems. When pneumonia struck, it did more than steal his breath. It abruptly ended a career that had never truly slowed down, leaving family and colleagues stunned by his sudden passing. On October 4, 2019, Stephen Moore died at the age of 81. His net worth was estimated at about $2 million, the result of decades dedicated to theater, screen, and especially the art of voice acting. Yet his greatest legacy cannot be measured in numbers, but in the unforgettable, one-of-a-kind voice of Marvin, the melancholy robot from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Walter Sparrow as elderly man. At the age of 68, Walter Sparrow played the elderly man in The Thin Blue Line in 1995. A minor character, but one that brought humor and authenticity, enriching the comedy of the show. Though he appeared in only 1 episode, his presence was proof that even the smallest roles can leave a mark when performed by an experienced actor. The defining tragedy of Walter Sparrow's life was the poverty of his childhood, which haunted and shaped him throughout his lifetime. Born in Eltham, London in 1927, he grew up in a struggling family, forced to work from a young age, and at one point turned to stand-up comedy to earn a living before finding his way into film and theater. Those hard years left him with a deep sense of class insecurity, and despite his talent, Sparrow was often confined to supporting roles, rarely given the chance to become a star. Offstage, the burden of raising 2 children while navigating an unstable career pushed him into cycles of stress. Social drinking, his brief escape, gradually eroded his health. Sparrow's tragedy was this: he devoted his life to art, yet mostly received only fragments of glory, while the shadows of hardship never left his side. On May 31, 2000, Walter Sparrow passed away in Oxfordshire at the age of 73, after a long decline due to illness. His net worth was estimated at about $1 million, much of it from his film and television roles during the 1990s. His most iconic image remains that of the blind servant Duncan in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991, a role that mirrored his own life, marked by suffering, yet shining through with resilience and the dignity of a devoted artist. Rowan Atkinson as Inspector Raymond Fowler. At the age of 40, Rowan Atkinson starred as Inspector Raymond Fowler in The Thin Blue Line in 1995, the main character, a bumbling, rigidly principled police inspector who had audiences laughing out loud. Across 14 episodes, he became the heart of the series, presenting a persona entirely different from the world-famous Mr. Bean and showcasing his range as an actor. Yet behind the glittering success, Rowan Atkinson's life carried its share of hidden wounds. From childhood, he suffered from a severe stammer, which often made him the target of ridicule at school, leaving him shy and burdened with insecurity. What seemed like a crippling flaw that might bury any dream of performing, he transformed through extraordinary determination, building a career on physical comedy and expressive facial acting. Still, deep inside, the insecurity never truly disappeared. The tragedies extended into his personal life. After 24 years of marriage, his 2015 divorce from Sunetra Sastry tore apart what seemed like a stable family, leaving a painful void for their two children, Benjamin and Lily, who had grown up under the shadow of an immensely famous father. Even more harrowing were his brushes with death. Atkinson survived 2 terrifying crashes in his multi-million-dollar McLaren F1 supercar. In 1999, he injured his shoulder in one accident. In 2011, the car burst into flames after a severe crash, nearly costing him his life. The physical scars eventually healed, but the haunting awareness of life's fragility never left him. And for an artist who had spent his life bringing laughter to others, the most tragic truth was that he often struggled to find laughter for himself. In 2025, Rowan Atkinson is 70 years old. Though no longer a constant presence on television, he still appears in film projects, most recently Wonka, 2023, while enjoying a quiet life with his partner Louise Ford and their young child. His net worth is estimated at around $150 million, thanks largely to the global success of Mr. Bean and Blackadder. His iconic image has become an eternal legacy, ensuring that audiences will always remember him as the artist who devoted his life to creating laughter, even as he endured no small share of sorrow behind the scenes. Serena Evans, as Sergeant Patricia Dawkins. In the 1995 sitcom The Thin Blue Line, Serena Evans took on the role of Sergeant Patricia Dawkins when she was just 36 years old. Her character was a policewoman who was both tough and deeply compassionate, someone who always tried to keep a fragile sense of order in a small police team surrounded by endless absurd situations. Across 14 episodes, Evans became a face forever tied to the series, leaving audiences with the unforgettable image of a Dawkins who was intelligent, strong, and full of humanity. Serena Evans was born on December 2, 1959, in Westminster, London, into a family steeped in art. Yet behind the glow of her artistic lineage lay an unhealed wound. Her mother died when she was very young. Instead of being enveloped in complete maternal love, her childhood was overshadowed by the immense void of loss. She grew up in rooms filled with unfinished memories, where her mother's voice and image survived only in faint recollections. This absence made Evans withdrawn, often questioning why fate had stolen away the most important person in her life before she had even grown up. It was from this pain that she turned to acting as a form of healing. Through each role, she could live many different lives, feel love, and fill the emptiness in her heart. Yet the stage lights were not always bright enough to hide the shadows. Behind every smile on screen, Evans still carried a quiet sadness, an invisible scar that never healed. By 2025, Serena Evans is 66 years old. She continues to pursue her passion for the arts, appearing in both television and theater projects, while also enjoying a peaceful life with her husband, actor Daniel Flynn, and their 2 children. Her net worth is estimated at around $2 million, primarily from her long career on stage and television. David Haig as D.I. Derek Grimm. When David Haig was 40 years old, he played D.I. Derek Grimm in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995. His character was the clumsy rival police inspector of Fowler, always trying to assert authority, but repeatedly finding himself in laughable situations. Haig gave the show a unique energy, becoming an essential counterpart to Rowan Atkinson. David Haig was born on September 20, 1955, in Aldershot, Hampshire, into a family that carried both an artistic background and heavy tragedy. His mother was the opera singer Shirley Brooks, while his father was a military officer. But the greatest shock of his youth was the sudden death of his younger sister at the age of 22 from a brain aneurysm. The pain left a deep scar on his soul, and for years he quietly battled mild depression, a shadow that lingered even though he always appeared polished in public. Later in life, he also carried the burden of raising 5 children, all while balancing the relentless demands of theater and screenwriting. Away from the spotlight, Haig often struggled with anxiety and a sense of incompleteness, an inner darkness few knew of, yet one that deeply informed the emotional depth he brought to every character. By 2025, David Haig is 70 years old. He remains devoted to the arts, from stage to television and even film screenwriting, and has been the creative force behind acclaimed plays such as My Boy Jack and Pressure. Alongside his career, he lives with his wife, Jane Galloway, and looks after his large family of 5 children. Haig's net worth is estimated at around $5 million, earned partly through his acting and partly through his writing talent. James Dreyfus as PC Kevin Goody. At the age of 27, James Dreyfus played PC Kevin Goody in the 1995 sitcom The Thin Blue Line, a goofy, lovable, yet clumsy police constable whose antics constantly gave audiences reason to laugh. Appearing in all 14 episodes, Dreyfus created one of the most beloved characters of the series, lifting his career out of the shadows of supporting roles and making him a familiar face in British comedy. James Dreyfus was born on October 9, 1968, in Islington, London, into a family of multicultural background. Yet behind the bright stage lights, his life was often marked by controversy and personal struggles. As an openly gay actor, Dreyfus was once praised for his openness and charisma in flamboyant roles, but that same image often boxed him in, limiting his career. By the 2020s, storms truly hit. Public comments he made on social media regarding transgender rights led to his being cancelled, dropped from major projects, and even losing the role of the Master in the Doctor Who audio dramas. These repeated blows not only stripped away career opportunities, but also eroded his mental health, pushing him into isolation. After several failed relationships, Dreyfus chose to live alone, a choice that reflected in some ways the emotional losses and void behind the glitter of fame. In 2025, James Dreyfus is 57 years old. Though his career no longer shines as brightly as in its early days, he still maintains smaller projects and income from past roles, with a net worth estimated at around $3 million. The iconic image that remains with audiences is that of Goody, the naive yet endearing policeman, a role that brought laughter but also a touch of pathos, mirroring Dreyfus's own real-life journey. Mina Anwar as PC Maggie Habib. Mina Mumtaz Anwar played PC Maggie Habib in the sitcom The Thin Blue Line in 1995, when she was just 26 years old. Across all 14 episodes, her portrayal of a strong, determined, yet humorous South Asian policewoman made her one of the show's standout characters. Beyond comedy, Habib also represented one of the rare examples of diversity on British television in the 1990s. Yet behind that success, Mina Anwar's life was a series of bitter struggles. Born on September 20, 1969, in Church, Lancashire, to a Pakistani family, she faced harsh scrutiny from a young age due to her skin color and background. Entering the entertainment industry, she often endured ridicule or rejection for not fitting the British standard. This subtle but persistent prejudice left lasting scars, turning each role into a battle for recognition. In the early years of her career, she was forced to accept minor, unremarkable roles, and at times fell into despair, wondering if she would always be pushed to the margins. But with faith in art and love for performance, Mina fought back step by step, using her mezzo-soprano singing voice and relentless perseverance to prove herself. She kept her private life carefully guarded, like armor against prying eyes, but that also meant quietly carrying loneliness and unspoken sadness. By 2025, Mina Anwar is 56 years old. Though no longer at the height of fame she enjoyed during the Thin Blue Line, she remains active in theater, television, and music. Her net worth is estimated at around $2.5 million, earned through her roles and stage work. Yet the greatest value she leaves behind is the image of P.C. Habib, a courageous policewoman who overcame prejudice to shine. Kevin Allen as D.C. Robert Cray. At 36, Kevin Allen appeared as D.C. Robert Cray in The Thin Blue Line in 1995. Though he only featured in 7 episodes, his character left its own impression. A policeman played with a hint of satire, helping to complete the show's humorous portrait of station life. The role also opened the door for him to establish himself before moving on to an ambitious career in directing. Born on September 15, 1959 in Swansea, Wales, Kevin Allen's journey was far from smooth. In the early years of his career, he struggled under heavy financial pressures, at times nearly giving up on cinema altogether. To support his family, he juggled small acting projects with odd jobs. Later, the burden of raising 4 children while building a directing career pushed him to Ireland, where he both made films and raised rare breed pigs to get by. Those years, filled with the smell of earth, sweat, and the constant worry of daily survival, forged a grittier, more determined Kevin Allen. From that struggle came his transformation into a director of acclaimed films, earning BAFTA nominations and even sending work to the Oscars. By 2025, Kevin Allen is 66 years old and still living in peaceful Ireland. He continues to dedicate himself to new film projects and remains the driving force behind the Flat Lake Arts Festival, a cultural haven where he brings literature and cinema closer to the community. His net worth is estimated at around $3 million, but the true worth lies in his image as an artist unafraid to get his hands dirty, even raising pigs to keep his dreams alive. Kevin Allen proves that creativity often has to travel through the dark alleys of hardship before finding the light of success. And these are the familiar faces of the Thin Blue Line, some who tragically passed away, leaving an irreplaceable void in the hearts of fans. Who do you remember most vividly, and whose loss still leaves you the most heartbroken? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue uncovering the hidden stories behind the spotlight.